Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. My name is Krisabong Sutangkun. I am from Mahidol University, and today I have a book about the first Chronicle of Druss. It's an adventurous book about a man called Druss who goes on an adventure. And so let's start on chapter 1. The axe was 4 feet long with a 10-pound head. The blade fell and sharp as any sword. The haft was of them, beautifully curved and more than 40 years old. For most men, it was a heavy tool, unwieldy and imprecise. But in the hand of the dark-haired young man who stood before the towering beech, it sang through the air, seemingly as light as a saber. Every long swing saw the herd bite exactly where the woodman intended, deeper and deeper into the meat of the trunk. Just stepping back, then glanced up. There were several hundred heavy branches jittering toward the north. He moved around the trees, gauging the line where it would fall, then returned to his work. This was the third tree he had tackled today, and his muscle ached. Sweat gleaming on his naked back, his short corporate black hair was soaked with perspiration that thickened over his brow. Stinging his ice blue eyes, his mouth was dry. But he was determined to finish the task before allowing himself to reward the reward of a cooling drink. Somewhere to his left, the brothers Philia and Yored were sitting on a fallen tree, laughing and talking. Their hatches beside them, there was the task of stripping the trunks, hacking away smaller branches and limbs that could be used for winter firewood. But they stopped often, and Druss could hear them discussing the merits and alleged wits of the village girl. They were handsome youth, blond and tall, son of the blacksmith Tyrion. Both were witty and intelligent, and popular among the girls. Truss disliked them to his right. Several of the older boys were sawing through the larger branch for the first tree Truss had fallen, while elsewhere young girls were gathering dead roots, kindling for winter fire, and loading them in the wheelbarrows to be pushed downhill to the village. At the edge of a new clearing stood the four workhouses, couples now and gazing, waiting for the tree to be cleared so that chain trays could be attached to the trunks for the long haul into the valley. Autumn was fading fast, and the village elders were determined that the new perimeter walls would be finished before winter. The frontiers mountains of Sokhda boast only one troop of Genuine cavalry, patrolling an area of 1,000 square miles, where the cattle thieves, slave robbers, and outlaws roam the mountain, and the rural consul in Dinia made it clear they would accept no responsibility for the new settlement on the Bulgarian border. But thought of the peril of frontier life did not discourage the men and women who journeyed to Sokhta. They sought a new life far removed from the more civilized south and east, and built their home where land was still free and wild, and where strong men did not need to tug the forelock nor bow when the noble rode by. Freedom was the key word. No one thought Raider could determine. Thrust heft his axe and thundered the blade into the welding notch. 10 times more he struck, deep into the base of the trunk, then another 10 smooth, powerful strokes. 3 more axe blows, and the tree would groan and give, wrenching and tearing as she fell. Stepping back, he scanned the ground along the line of the fall. A movement caught his eye, and he saw a small child with a golden hair sitting beneath a bush, a ragdoll in her hand. Children, beloved Druss, if you aren't out of there by the time I count to 3, I will tear your leg and beat you to death with the wet end. 1, 2. The child's mouth dropped open, her eye widening, dropping her ragdoll. She screamed clear of the brush and ran crying from the forest. Druss shook his head and walked forward to retrieve the door, tucking it into his widening belt. He felt the eye of the other on him and guessed what they were thinking. Dress the brute, dress the crew. That's how they saw him, and maybe they were right. Ignoring them, he walked back to the tree and hefted his axe. Only 2 weeks before, he had been felling a tall beech and had been called away with the work almost complete. When he returned, it was to find Kiris sitting in the topmost branch with her dolls, as always, beside her. Come down, he had called. The tree is about to fall. What? Said Kiris. We like it here. We can see forever. Druss had looked around for once, hoping that some of the village girls were close by, but there was no one. He examined the huge cliff in the trunk. A sudden wind would cause the trunk to topple. Come down. There's a good girl. You will be hurt if the tree falls. Why should I fall? Why should it fall? Because I've been hitting it with my axe. Now, come down. All right, she said, and started to climb down. The tree suddenly tilted, and Kiris screamed and clutched to the branch. Druss's mouth was dry. Quickly, now, he said. Kiris said nothing, nor did she move. Druss swore and setting his foot to a low knot, leveling himself up to the first branch. Slowly and with great care, he climbed the half-felled tree, higher and higher toward the child. At last he reached her. Put your arm around my neck, he commanded. She did so, and he began the climb down. Halfway to the ground, Druss felt the tree shuddered and snap. Leaping clear, he hugged the child to him, then hit the ground, landing awkwardly with his left shoulder slamming into the soft earth. Shielded by his cloak, Kiris was unhurt, but Druss groaned as he rose. Are you hurt? Asked Kiris. Druss' pale eye struck on the child. If I catch you near my tree again, I shall feed you to the wolf. He roared. Now, begone! He had sprinted away as if her dress was on fire. Chuckling at the memory now, he hefted his axe and thundered the blade into the beak. A great groan came from the tree. A retching, tearing sound, that driven out the nearby tottering of hatches and swaggon and sawing off broke. The tree, the bridge toppled, twisting as it fell. Druss turned toward the water sack hanging from a branch nearby. The felling of the tree signaled the break for the midday meal, and the village youngsters gathered in a group in the sunshine, laughing and joking, but no one approached Dress. His recent fight with the former soldier Ararin has, has unsettled them, and they view him even more wary than before. He sat alone, eating bread and cheese, and taking a long, cool swallow of water. Pilan and Buret were now sitting with Beryl and Telan, the daughter of the miller. The girls were smiling prettier, tilting their head and enjoying the attention. Buret leaned in close to Celia, kissing her ears. Celia's French outrages. The game ceased when the black-bearded man entered the clearing. He was tall, with a massive shoulder and eye the color of winter cloud. Grass saw his father approach and stood. "Close yourself and walk with me," said Breeze. Striding away into the wood, Drass donned his shirt and followed his father, out of earshot of the other. The tall man sat down beside a fast-moving stream, and Drass joined him. "You must learn to control that temper, my son," said Breeze. "You almost killed a man." "I just hit him once." "The once broke his jaw and dislodged 3 teeth." "Have the elder decided on a penalty?" I must support Aladdin and his family through the winter. Now I can ill afford that boy." He spoke. He spoke silently of Rowena, and I will not tolerate that ever. Rhys took a deep breath, but before speaking, he lifted a pebble and hurled it into the stream. Then he sighed. "We are not known here, Druss, save as good workers and followed villager. We came a long way to be rid of the stigma of my father bequeathed our family. But remember the lesson of his life. He could not control his temper, and he became an outcast, an originate, a bloodthirsty butcher. Now they say blood run too. In our case, I hope they were wrong." "I am not a killer," argued Druss. "Had I wanted him dead, I could have broken his neck with a single blow." "I know you are strong. You take after me in that regard and proud. That I think came from your mother's. May her soul know peace. The God alone know how often I have been forced to swallow my pride." Chris tugged at his beard and turned to face his son. "We are a small settlement now, and we cannot have violence among ourselves. We would not survive as a community. Can you understand that?" "What did that ask you to tell me?" Chris sighed. "You must make your presence with Aranin. And know this, if you attack any other man of the village, you will be cast out." Druss' face darkened. I work harder than any man. I trouble no one. I do not get drunk like Pelia and Yored, nor trying to make war of the village maid like their father. I do not steal, I do not lie, yet they will cast me out. You frightened them, Druss. You frightened me too. I am not my grandfather. I am not a murderer. Breathe sighed. I had hoped you I had hoped that Rowena, with all her gentleness, would have helped to calm that temper of yours. But on the morning after your wedding, you have killed a fellow settler. And for what? Don't tell me. He spoke silently. Slightly. All he said was that you were a lucky man and he would like to have bedded her himself. By all the gods, son, if you feel you have to break a man's jaw for any compliment he pays for your wife, there won't be any men left in this village to work at all. Sorry. It wasn't said as a compliment, and I can control my temper. But Aladdin is a loud-mouthed bracken, and he received exactly what he deserved. I hope that you will take note of what I've said, son. Bert stood and stretched his back. I know you have little respect for me. I hope you will think of how Rowena would fare if you were both declared outcasts. Druss gazed up at him and swallowed back in his disappointment. Rex was physical giant, stronger than any man Rex had even known, but he wore defeat like a cloak. The youngster man rose alongside his father. "I'll take heed," he said. He smiled wearily. "I have to get back to the war. It should be finished in another 3 days. We will all sleep sounder then. You will have the timber," Druss promised. "You are a good man with an axe. I say that." Reese walked away for several paces, then turned. "If they did catch you out, son, you wouldn't be alone. I would walk with you." Russ nodded. "It won't come that. It won't come to that. I've already promised Rowena. I'll mend my way." "I wish she was angry," said Bruce with a grin. "Worse, she was disappointed in me." Russ chuckled. "Sharper than a serpent tooth is the disappointment of a new wife." "You should laugh more often, my boy. It suits you." But as Brace walked away, the smile faded from the young man's face, and he gazed down at his bruised knuckles and remembered the emotions that had surged within him. And he struck Alarin. There has been anger and a savage need for combat. But when his fist landed and Alarin toppled, there had been only one sensation: grief and indescribable powerful joy, pure pleasure of a kind and a power he had not experienced before. He closed his eyes, forcing the scenes from his mind. "I am not my grandfather," he told himself. "I am not insane." That night he repeated the word to Rowena as they lay in the broad bed Rest has fashioned for a wedding gift. Roaring to her stomach, she leaned on his chest. Her long hair fell like silk upon his massive shoulder. "Of course, you are not insane, my love," she assured him. You are one of the greatest, one of the gentlest men I've known. That's not how they see me, he told her, reaching up and stroking her hair. I know. It was wrong of you break Aaron Charles. They were just words, and it mattered not a whit if he meant them unpleasantly. They were just noise blowing into the air. Easing her from him, Druss sat up. It is not that easy, Rowena. Man has been goading me for weeks. He wanted to that fight because he wanted to humble me, but he did not. No man ever will. She shivers beside him. Are you cold? He asked. Are you cold? He asked, drawing her into his embrace. Dead walkers, she whispers. What? What did you say? Her eyelid fluttered. She smiled and kisses his cheek. It doesn't matter. Let us forget Aladdin and enjoy each other's companies. I've always enjoyed your company, he said. I love you. Rowena's dreams were dark and brooding. The following days, at the riverside, she could not force the image from her mind. Dressed in black and silver, and bearing a mighty axe, stood upon his hillside. From the axe blade came a great host of souls, flowing like a smoke around the grim killer. Dead Walker. The vision has been powerful, squeezing the last of the water from the shirt she was washing. She laid it over a flat rock alongside the drying blanket and the scrubbed wooden dress. Stretching her back, she rose from the water's edge and walked to the tree line, where she sat, her right hand closing on the brooch Dress had fashioned for her in his father's workshop. Soft copper strands entwined around a moonstone, misty and translucent as her fingers touched the stone. Her eye closed and mind clear. She saw Druss sitting alone by the high stream. I am with you, she whispered, but he could not hear her, and she sighed. No one in the village knew of her talent, for her father's warrant had impressed upon her the need for secrecy. Only last year 4 women in Durnan had been convicted of sorcery and burnt alive by the priests of Misal. Warren was a careful man. He had brought Rowena to this remote village far from Drina because, as he told her secret, as he told her, secrets cannot live quietly among a multitude. Cities are full of praying eyes and attractive ears, vengeful mind and malevolent thoughts. You will be safe in the mountains. And he had made her promise to tell no one of her skill, not even Dress. Rowena regretted that promise as she gazed with the eyes of spirits upon her husband. She could see no harshness in his blunt, flat feature, no swirling storm cloud in those grey blue eyes, no hint of saltiness in the flat line of his mouth. He was Druss, and she loved him. With a certainty born of her talents, she knew she would love no other man as she loved Dress, and she knew why. He needed her, She had gazed through the windows of his soul, and had found there a warmth and a purities and islands of tranquility, set in a sea of roaring violent emotion. While she was with him, Russ was tender, his turbulent spirit at peace. In her company he smiled. Perhaps he thought it might help he may be kept at peace. Perhaps the green killer will never know life. Dreaming again, Rose? Said Mary. Moving to sit alongside Rowena, the young woman opened her eyes and smiled at her friends. Mary was short and plump, with honey-colored hair and bright open smiles. I was thinking of dress, said Rowena. Mary nodded and looked away, and Rowena could feel her concern. For weeks, her friends had tried to dislodge her from marrying Druss, adding her argument to those of Warren and Arthur's. Will Helen be your partner at the Saltish dance? Asked Rowena, changing the subject. Mary's mood changed abruptly, and she giggled. Yes, but he doesn't know yet. When will he find out? Tonight, Mary lowered her voice. Thought there was no one else with earshot. We're meeting in the lower meltdown. Be careful, warned Rowena. Is that the advice of the old man? Oh, sorry. Is that the advice of the old married woman? Did you and Druss make love before you were wed? Yes, we did, Rowena admitted. But Druss, he had already made his pledge before the oak. Pilant hasn't. Just word, Ro. I don't need them. Oh, I know Pilan's been flirting with Althea, but she's not for him. No passion, you see. All she thinks about is wealth. She doesn't want to stay in the wilderness. She yearns for the DNA. She will not want to keep a mountain man warm at night, nor make the peace with two back in the wet meltdown, with the grass tickling her. Mary, you will think too frank, admonishes Rowena. Mary giggled and leaned in close. Is Trust a good lover? Rowena sighed. All tension and sadness disappeared. Oh, Mary, why is it that you can talk about forbidden subject and make them seem so wonderfully ordinary? You are like the sunshine that follows rain. They are not forbidden here, Rose. That's the trouble with girls born in cities and surrounded by stone walls and marble and granite. You don't feel the earth anymore. Why do you come here? You know why, said Rowena uneasily. I just wanted a life in the mountains. I know that what you always said, but I never believed it. You are a terrible liar. Your face goes red, and you always look away. I can't tell you I made a promise. Wonderful! Exclaimed Mary. I love mysterious. Is he a criminal? He's a bookkeeper, wasn't he? Did he steal some rich man money? No, it was nothing to do with him. It was me. Don't ask me any more, please. I thought we were friends, said Mary. I thought we could trust each other. Oh, sorry.
I thought we could trust one another.
We can, honestly.
I wouldn't tell anyone,
I know, said Rowena, sadly,
but
but it would spoil our friendships.
nothing could do that. How long have you been here? 2 seasons? Have we ever fought? Oh, come on, Rose. Where's the harm? You tell me your secrets, and I tell you mine.
I already know your secret, whispered Rowena. You gave yourself to the Draenei captains, where he and his men passed through here on patrol in the summers. You took him to the low mill down.
How did you find out?
I didn't. It was in your mind when you told me you would share a secret with me.
I don't understand.
I can see people. Uh, I can see what people are thinking, and I can sometimes tell what is going on, what is going to happen. And that's my secret.
You have the gift. I don't believe it. What am I thinking now?
A white house with a clear lands of red flowers.
Oh no, that's wonderful. Tell me fortune. Tell my fortune.
She pleaded, holding out her hand. You won't tell anyone else?
I promised, didn't I?
Sometimes it doesn't work,
Try anyway.
urged Mary. Thrusting out her plump hand, Rowena reached out, her slender fingers closing on Mary's palm, but suddenly she shuddered, and the color faded from her face.
What is it?
Rowena began to tremble. I must find us. Can't talk. Risen, she stumbled away, the watch's close forgotten.
No, Rowena, come back.
On the hillside above, a rider stared down at the woman by the river. Then he turned his horse and rode swiftly toward the north. Rex closed the door of the cabin and moved through to his workroom, where from a small box he took a lance glove. It was old and yellowed, and several of the pearls which he had once graced the wrist were now missing. It was a small glove, and Brace sat at his breech, staring down at it, his huge fingers stroking the remaining pearls. I am a lost man, he said softly, closing his eyes and picturing Adlitia, sweet phrase. He despised me, gods. I despise myself. Leaning back in his chair, he gazed idly at the walls, and the many shelves bearing strain of coppers and brass works too, jars of dye, box of beads. It was rare now for priests to find time to make jewelry. There was little call for such luxuries here in the mountains. Now it was his skills as a carpenter which were valued. He had become merely a maker of doors and tables, chairs and beds. Still nursing the glove, he moved back into the hard room. I think we were born under unlucky stars, he told the dead Alithing. Or perhaps but an evil spirit stain our life. Trust is like him, you know. I see it in the eyes, in the sudden rage. I don't know what to do. I could never convince father, and I cannot reach Druss. His thoughts drifted back, memories dark and painful flooded his mind. He saw Barden. On that last day, blood covered, his enemies all around him, 6 men were dead, and that terrible axe was still slashing left and right. Then a lance had been thrust into a Badan's throat, blood bubbling from the wound, but Badan slew the lancer wielder before falling to his knees. A man ran in behind him and delivered a terrible blow to Badan's neck. From his hiding place, high in the oak, the 14-year-old Brace had watched his father die and heard one of the killers say, "The old wolf is dead. Now, where is the pup?" He had stayed in the tree all night, high above the headless body of Bada. Then, in the cold of dawn, he had climbed down and stood by the corpse. There was no sadness, only a terrible sense of relief combined with guilt. Baden was dead. Baden the butcher. Baden the slayer. Baden the demon. He had walked 60 miles to a settlement and there had found employment, apprentices to a carpenter, but just as he was settling down, the past came back to torment him. When the traveling tinker recognized him, he was the son of the devil. A crowd gathered outside the carpenter's shop, an angry mob armed with a club and stones. Grace had climbed from the rear windows and fled from the settlement. 3 times before during the next 5 years he had been forced to run, and then he had met Alethea. Fortune smiled on him. Then he had remembered Alethea's fathers. On the day of the weddings approached him and offering him a goblet of wine. "I know you have suffered, boys," said the old man, "but I am not one who believes that a father's evil is visited upon the soul of his children. I know you, Brace. You are a good man." "Hey," thought Brace, as he sat by the hearth, "a good man." Lifting the globe, he kissed it softly. Alethea had been wearing it when the 3 men from the south had arrived. At the settlement where Brice and his wife and new son had made their home, Brice had a small but thriving business, making a brooch and rings and necklaces for the wealthy. He was out walking one morning, and Alethea beside him carrying the babe. "It Potter's sons!" he heard someone shout, and he glanced around. The 3 latter had stopped their horse, and one of the men was pointing at him. They spurred their mounts and rode at him. Alethea, struck by a charging horse, fell heavily, and Brace had kept nipped at the ride. Dragging him from the saddles, the other men hurled themselves from their saddle. Brace struck left and right, his heel pitch clobbering them to the ground. As the dust settled, he turned back to Alethea, only to find her dead and the babe crying beside her. From that moment, he lived like a man with no hope. He rarely smiled, and he never laughed. The ghost of Barton was upon him, and he took to traveling, moving through the lands of the Dinare with his son beside him. Brace took what job he could find: a laborer in Grimmell, a carpenter in Del Notch, a bridge builder in Marshapur, and a horse handler in Costaway. 5 years ago, he had wed a farmer's daughter. He, he had wed a farmer's daughter named Pratika, a simple lass, plain of face and none too bright. Brace cared for her, but there was no room left for love in his heart, for Alethea had taken it with her when she died. He had married Patika to give Druss a mother, but the boys had never taken to her. 2 years ago, with Druss now 15, they had come to Softa, but even here the growths remained, born again, it seemed, into the boy. What can I do, Lydia? He asked. Patika entered the cabin, holding three fresh loves in her arms. She was a large woman with a round, pleasant face surrounded by auburn hair. She watched the glove and tied the mask the hut she felt. Did you see Drash? She asked. Yeah, I did. He said he was trying to curb his temper. Give him time, Rowena will calm him. Hearing the thunders of hoof outside, Grace placed the glove on the table and moved to the door. Armed men were riding into the village, sword in their hand. Grace saw Rowena running into the settlement. Her dress itched up around her thighs. She saw the raider and tried to run away. But a horseman bore down on her. Grace ran into the open and leaped at the man, pulling him from the saddle. The raider hit the ground hard, losing his grip on the sword. Grace snatched it up, but a lance pierced his shoulder. And with a roar of anger, he twisted around and the lance snapped. Grace lashed out with the sword. The raider fell back and the horse reared. Raiders surrounded him with a lance leveled. In that instant, Grace knew that he was about to die. Time froze for him. He saw the skies filled with lowering cloud and smelled the new mown grass of the meltdown. Other raiders were galloping through the settlements, and he heard the scream of a dying village. Everything they had built was for nothing. A terrible anger raged inside him. Gripping the sword, he let out the battle cry of battle. Blood and dirt! He bellowed and charged. Deep within the woods, Druss leaned on his axe, a rare smile on his normally grim face. Above him, the sun shone through a break in the cloud, and he saw an eagle, snoring golden wing, seemingly aflame. Druss removed his sweat-drenched linen headband, laying it on a stone to dry. Lifting a water skin, he took a long drink. Nearby, Philia and Yored laid aside their hatchets. Soon, Talia and Burial would arrive with the whole horse, and the work would begin again, attaching the chains and dragging the timber down to the village. But for now, there was little to do but sit and wait. Druss opened the linen wire package Rowena had given him that morning. Within was a wedge of meat pie and a large slice of honey cake. Ah, the joy of married life, said Pilar. Druss laughed. You should have tried harder to woo her. Too late to be jealous now. She wouldn't have me dress. She said she was waiting for a man whose face would curdle milk, and that if she married me, she would spend the rest of her life wondering which of her pretty friends would steal me from her. It seemed her dream was to find the world's ugliest man. He smiled faint as he saw the expression on the woodsman's face, and the cold gleam that appeared in his pale eyes. Only jesting, said Pilan, swiftly the color ebbed from his face. Druss took a deep breath and remembering his father's warning, fought down his anger. I am not good with jest. he said, the word tasting like bile in his mouth. No harm done, said Pilan's brother, moving to sit alongside the giant. But if you don't mind saying so, Druss, you need to develop a sense of humor. We all make jest at the expense of our friends. It means nothing. Druss merely nodded and turned his attention to the pie. Your rat was right. Rowena had said exactly the same word, but from her it was easy to take the criticism. With her he felt calm, and the world had color and joy. He finished the food and stood. The girls should have been here by now, he said. I can hear a horse, said Phelan, rising. They're coming fast, Joran added. Tillian and Barrett come running into the clearing, their faces show fear, their head turning toward the unseen horseman. Druss snatched his axe from the stump and ran towards as Tilia looked back, stumbled and fell. 6 horsemen rode into sight, armor gleaming in the sunlight. Druss saw a raven-winged helm, lance, and sword. The horses were laden, and on seeing the 3 youths, the warriors shouted battle cries and spurred their mounts toward them. Philia and Yored sprinted away toward the right. 3 riders swung their horses to keep chase, but the remaining 3 came on towards Dusk. The young man stood calmly, the axe he held loosely upon his naked chest. Directly in front of him was a fallen tree. The first of the raiders, a lancer, leaned forward in the saddle as high gilded jumped over the fallen beech. At that moment, Druss moved, sprinting forward and swinging his axe in a murderous arc. As the horse landed, the axe blade hissed over his head, plunged it into the chest of the lancer to split his breast chest and smash his rib to shreds. The blow hammered the man from the saddle. Druss tried to wrench his axe clear, but the blade was caught by the fractured armor. A sword slashing down at the youth's head, and Druss dived and rolled as the horseman moved in close. He hurled himself from the ground, grabbing the stallion's right forelegs. With one awesome heave, he toppled the horse and rider. Holding the fallen tree, he ran where the other 2 youths had left their hatchets. Scooping up the first, he turned as a raider galloping toward him. Druss' arm came back, then stepped forward. The head sliced through the air, the iron head crunching into the man's teeth. He swayed in the saddle. Druss ran forward to drag him from the horse. The raiders had adopted his lance. Tried to draw a dagger. Druss slapped it from his hand, delivered a bone-breaking punch to the warrior's chin, and then he snatching up a dagger, rammed it into the man's unprotected throat. Look out, Druss! Small child. Look out, Druss! Yelled Hitler. Tylia, dress spun just as sword swing flashes for his belly, parrying the blade with his forearm. He thundered it right across, which took the attacker full on a jaw. Spinning him from his feet, Druss leapt on the man, one huge hand grabbing his chin and the other his brow. With one savage twist, Druss heard the swordman's neck snap like a dry stick. Moving swiftly to the first man he had killed, Druss tore the fallen axe clear of the breastplate as Tilia ran from her hiding place in the bushes. They're attacking the village, she said. Tear in her eyes, Phelan came running into the clearings, a lancet behind him. Squirrel! beloved Druss, but Filian was too terrified to obey, and he ran straight on it, until the lance pierced his back, exiting in a bloody spray from his chest. The youth cried out, then stumbled to the ground. Druss roared in anger and raced forward. The lancer desperately tried to wrench his weapon clear of a dying boy. Druss swung wildly with the axe, which glanced from the raider's shoulder and plunged into the horse's back. The animal whined in pain and reached out before falling into the earth. Its leg failing, the raider scrambled clear, blood gushing from his shoulder, and tried to run, but Druss' next blows almost decapitated him. Hearing a scream, Druss began to run toward the sound and found Yored struggling with one raider. The second was kneeling on the ground, blood streaming from the wound in his head. The body of Barrett was beside him, a blood-smeared stone in her hand. The swordman grappling with Yored suddenly headbutted the youth, sending Yored back several paces. The sword came up. Druss shouted, trying to distract the warriors, but to no avail. The weapon lanced into the Yored's side, the swordman dragging the blade clear and towards Druss. "Now is your time to die, farm boys," he said. "In your dream," snarled the woodsman. Swinging the axe over his head, Druss charged. The swordman sidestepped it to his right. But Druss has been waiting for the move, and with all the power of his mighty shoulder, he reaches the axe. Changing its course, it clove through the man's collarbones, smashing the shoulder blades and ripping into his lung. Tearing the axe loose, Druss turned from the bodies to see the first wounded warrior, struggling to rise. Jumping forward, she struck him a murderous blow to the neck. "Help me!" called Yored. "I will send him here," Druss told him, and began to run back through the trees. Reaching the crest of the hill, he gazes down on the village. He could see scattered bodies, but no sign of radiant. For a moment he thought the village had beaten them back, but there was no movement at all. "Rowena!" he yelled. "Rowena!" Druss ran down the slope. He fell and rolled, losing his grip on the fallen axe, but scrambling to his feet, he pounded on down into a meltdown across the flat, through the half-finished gate. Bodies lay everywhere. Rowena's father's, the former bookkeeper Warren, had been stabbed through the throat, and blood was staining the earth beneath him. Breathing hard, Druss stopped and stared around the settlement squares. Old women, young children, and all the men were dead. As he stumbled on, he saw the golden-haired child against one building, a blood stain on the wall above showing how it has been slain. He found his father lying in the open, with 4 dead raiders around him. Partika was beside him, a hammer in her head, the plain brown woolen dress drenched in blood. Dress fell to his knees by his father's body. There were terrible wounds to the chest and belly, and his left hand was almost severed at the wrist. Dress groans and opened his eyes. "Dress, I am here, father. They took the young woman. Rowena was among them. I'll find her." The dying man glanced to his right at the dead woman beside him. "She was brave, lass. She tried to help me. I should have loved her better." Red sighed, then choked as blood flowed into his throat. He spat it clear
There is our weapons in the house. Far was beneath the boards. It has a terrible history, but you will need it. Druss stared down at the dying man, and their eyes met. Briss lifted his right hand. Druss took it. I did my best, boy, said his father. I know. Briss was fading fast, and Druss was not a man of words. Instead, he lifted his father into his arms and kissed his brows, hugging him close until the last breath of his life rasped from the broken bodies. Then he pushes himself to his feet and enters his father's home. It had been ransacked, cupboard hauled open, drawers pulled from the dresser, rug ripped from the wall, but by far was the hidden compartment was undiscovered. And Druss praised open the board and hauled out the chest that lay in the dust below the floors. It was locked. Moving through his father's old workshop, he returned with a large hammer and chisel, which he used to pry off the hinges. Then he took a hold of the lid and raked it clear. The brass lock twisted and tearing free. Inside, wrapping in an oilskin, was an axe, and such an axe! Druss unwrapped it revealingly. Druss unwrapped it reverently. The black metal haft was as long as a man's arm. The double head shaped like a wing of a butterfly. He tasted the edge of with his thumbs. The weapons was as sharp as his father's shaving knife. Several runes were inscribed on the haft, and though the Druss could not read them, he knew the word enriched there, for this was the awful axe of Bardon, the weapon that had slain men, women, and even children during the Reign of Terror. The words were part of a dark folklore of Dinar. Sanaka, the sender, the blade of no return. He lifted the axe clear, surprised by its lightness and its perfect balance in his hand. Beneath it, in the chest, was black leather jerkin, in the shoulder reinforced by a strip of silver steel. Two black leather gauntlets also protected by sharpened metal knuckle guards, and a pair of black new-legged linked boots. Beneath the clothes was a small pouch, and within it Druss found 18 silver pieces. Kicking off his soft leather shoes, Druss pulled on the boots and donned the jerkin. At the bottom of the chest, Druss settling the helmet into place, then lifted the axe once more. Gazing down at his reflection in the shining blade, he saw a pair of cold blue eyes, empty, devoid of feeling. Sanaka, forged in the elder days, crafted by the master. The blade had never been sharpened, for it had never dulled, despite the many battles, skirmishes that had filled the life of Bardon, and even before the blade had been in use. Bardon had acquired the battle axe during the Second Valyrian War, looting from the old barrel in which lay the bone of an ancient battle king, a monster of legend. Karas, the Admin. It is an evil weapon, Brez has once told his son. All the men who ever bore it were killed with no souls. Why do you keep it then?
and his 13-year-old son.
It cannot kill while I keep it,
Was all Briss has answered. Druss stared at the blades.
Now you can't kill.
He whispered. Then he heard the sound of a walking horse. Slowly he rose. Whoa, that was quite a lot. So, to summarize all this is the first chapter of Druss. So, he was born in a faraway land in which his grandfather, named Badan, was a cold hard killer. And and it's seemingly that Druss, the father of uh, Druss, the father of Druss, it's, the names are quite similar. So Druss, the Druss, the son of Dess. So this Druss seemed to like lost everything. His girlfriend Rowena got taken by some random raiders that the consul said that they will finish the war in time, but not guarantee what will happen to them. And Truss, he's quite a troubling man, but he's not what it seems. He is giant, a bulky man, but he have a heart of butterflies. And there's also Rowena, who she's a seer, which she can like read mind and foretell futures or something like that. Some said it was the gift that she had, and whenever dressed near her, he seemed calm and more reasonable. And on these fateful days, Aratus raid the Druss settlement and ransacked everything, killing everyone in sight, and took away every woman that they could find. Druss, he was really mad at it, so he he's go to retrieve the old act called Snarkers, which was used by the previous old, which was used by his grandfather Baden to kill many peoples, and he is now currently on a duty to save Rowena. And see you on the next chapter. Right.